What up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? Matty P here with a new series of shows we're going to do on Steelers Touch and Under called Steelers Stat of the Week. That's right, I'm just going to pick one stat. I'm going to talk to you about what that means, why that's a catalyst for things that are going on right now with the Steelers, why it's a problem, why it's a good thing. It'll depend on how the team is performing. So let's get into this week's stat of the week, starting week 5. And that's all to do with Allen Robinson. Now, why are we picking him stat of the week? Because I think it's quite telling of where the offense is at. There's a lot of things that you'll hear about the running game. There are a lot of things you'll hear about Najee Harris, about Jalen Warren, about George Pickens, about having no Deontay, about all the problems with Kenny Pickett in Canada. But this is the one that I struggle to get my head around, which again speaks back to the Canada scheme, speaks back to the fact this offense isn't firing. And that's the use of Allen Robinson III. He has been targeted less than 5 times per game, 17 targets through 4 weeks of the season. 17 targets. Here we talked about, a lot of people talked about him being a slot receiver for the Steelers at the start of the season. A lot of people talked about him, being someone that's really good for the short yardage passing. Mark, my co-host on a lot of the shows with Steelers Touch and Under, he talks about this other people around the fact that the Steelers with Matt Canada, it's like pass for 2 or 3 yards or screen play for no yards. Then it's a jet sweep or a run for like a couple of yards max. And then on third down, it's a third and long all the freaking time. Why aren't they using Allen Robinson more? In slants, getting him open, getting him through shifts in the middle of the field, get him through doing cuts, even on the odd drag route. Allen Robinson could be a Keenan Allen light or third of a Keenan Allen in terms of what he does for the Chargers for the Steelers. I don't understand how one of the biggest slot receivers in the NFL, one of the most experienced, yes, he's been injured, how he's not targeted more. And to me, he's a real key to unlocking a win against the Ravens in today's game. So 5 targets per game. He has just 3 receptions per game with 12 receptions of the 17 targets. So he's catching enough of the balls thrown his way. They're just not getting it to him. They're just not getting open. And he has had 108 yards in 4 games. That's an average of 27 yards per game. Deontay Johnson is injured. Now, yes, it all comes down to the opposition defense, can be stifling him, all those things. I've seen that on tape. I just find it hard to believe he's not getting better open than that. Now, Phil Simms talked about a lot of the Steelers the offensive line being terrible, and he was being kind, and basically they weren't giving Pickett time to throw. He was then talking about the receivers not getting open for Kenny. I've seen Allen Robinson open, and I'm not saying Kenny's missing him, but I've seen him open. But the problem is I'm seeing him open, and when I am seeing him or where he's running a route, it's not there to get a first down. It's not even there half the time to get 5 or 6 yards. The average depth of target for him is 6.1 yards. Think about that for a second. When he is getting the average reception that he's making, the average target or ball thrown his way, he's only 6.1 yards from the line of scrimmage. Now, obviously, there's going to be times he's a lot less than that, and because the average is 6, so there's going to be times he's going to be ahead of it. Now, of the receptions, when I looked at it, he'd actually had quite a few in terms of the ones that he had there for what he was getting per reception versus per overall the yardage. But average depth of target is very telling for a wide receiver. If this is an 8+, you're talking very short yardage. If he was a Najee Harris, I'd say 6.1 is pretty good, throwing behind, the line of scrimmage and then being open on certain plays. Even Pat Freiermuth, I'd kind of get over if Pat Freiermuth's average at the target, I think, is quite a bit lower than this at the moment. Obviously, he's out. So I want to see in today's game Allen Robinson unlocked. Because if we can see Allen Robinson unlocked while Deontay is out, this team actually has a much better shot in the offense. The fact that they can't do better with Allen Robinson is really telling. But I'd love to hear in the comments what you guys think of this stat of the week. As I said, we're going to do things offense, defense in the future. I'm really excited to bring this to you. It's going to each week just be a 3 to 4 minute show, something quick for you, something just to keep in the back of your mind. Sometimes we're going to go deep and wacky with some of the stats. Other times it's going to be quite headline, but you can stay tuned for that each week. If you like the show, hit that like button. If you're not a sub, hit that sub button. That way you get the notifications for everything. And if you do like the show and you are a sub, think about sharing the start of the week with your friends. It could be something cool you could talk about over the bar. It could be something you could say, hey, I saw this come out on one of the channels I follow, feel free to share it with them in a text, something like that. But yeah, definitely keep talking about the start of the week. I'm excited to bring this to you as well. We'll bring you still one in the bye week as well, because we'll talk about a stat coming out of this game, whether it's a telling stat as to why they lost or it's a revealing stat as to why they won. And as always, go Steelers.